Hi, welcome to 5.06, The Government is a Referee 1. This is starting with slide 1. You have learned that the economy is like a game. It has players, and those individuals are expected to play by the rules. But just as it is in a game, sometimes people do not want to abide by the rules when they play in the economy. Just as games need referees and penalties to keep players in line and make sure the game is played fairly, so does the economy. In addition to its role as taxing authority, provider of public goods, and major economic consumer, the government has another role: referee. Governments are the guardians of fairness in the economy. The economic system would be unable to function fairly and freely without government action. The government's role as a referee in the economy is another reason why the government needs to collect taxes to pay for its enforcement of the rules of the economic system. In a command economy, the government controls virtually all the economic decisions. The government sets the rules and enforces them, and the flow of goods through the market is highly regulated. Most governments today, however, embrace free market principles. The economy grows best when the government allows markets to operate with as little interference as possible. But some government oversight is required to prevent unfairness and to protect competition. Protecting competition. Competition is a fundamental aspect of free markets, but producers, driven by the profit motive, might find competition a barrier to increasing their profits. Built into the profit motive is an incentive to eliminate economic competitors. A producer with no competition can charge any price for the goods he or she produces. As a referee, the government works to protect producers from anti-competitive behavior by other producers to keep the free market free. This is one of the most important roles the government plays in a free market system. Without rules against anti-competitive behavior, big producers might be able to use their power to drive smaller competitors from the marketplace, reducing the freedom enjoyed by other producers and by consumers as a whole. The profit motive. Review the slideshow for a reminder about why the profit motive makes it important to protect competition. You can go ahead and do that on your own. Unfair business practices. Producers may try to eliminate competition by using unfair business practices. These practices, if tolerated or undetected, can lead to the formation of an oligopoly or monopoly. Remember that both oligopolies and monopolies are market structures with little or no competition. In an oligopoly, and especially in a monopoly, consumers pay higher prices for goods and services. As referee of the free market system, the government has a responsibility to prevent unfair business practices and protect competition. Below are some of the unfair business practices that can eliminate the competition and are prohibited by the government: fraud, predatory pricing, price fixing, and collusion. Fraud. Producers can try to eliminate the competition by engaging in fraud. There are many ways to commit fraud, but they all involve a misrepresentation of reality. Put simply, fraud is lying, or otherwise making false claims. A business that lies about what its products can do for consumers distorts the choices of consumers, and it puts other businesses that tell the truth about their products at a competitive disadvantage. Another form of fraud is vendor lock-in. This is a situation in which producers deliberately deceive customers about their future dependence and control them by preventing a move to another vendor without incurring substantial costs. This practice favors vendors at the expense of consumers, who are either forced to stick with expensive vendors or pay the high cost of switching. Bid rigging. A common form of fraud is bid rigging. Bid rigging occurs when companies coordinate their bids in order to get a higher price for a contract. Bid rigging takes many forms, such as bid suppression, a practice in which one or more parties agree not to submit a bid in order to improve the chances of another party having its bid accepted. Businesses can also use cover bids, in which one or more parties agree to submit an overpriced bid to improve the chances of another party getting their lower, but still high, bid accepted. Bid rigging can only take place if the bidders work together over the course of many contract bids, spreading the benefits among all participating companies. By preventing true competition in bidding for large contracts for public projects, bid rigging results in higher costs for the government, as well as for the public, who end up paying more, both as consumers and as taxpayers. Predatory pricing. One important and positive effect of competition is low prices for consumers. When businesses compete fairly with each other for sales, they have an incentive to drive down prices as low as they can without losing money. Some businesses can even price their products below the cost of production. A large company with a lot of investors and a range of goods and services can afford to take a loss on certain sales without eliminating its profitability. How low can you go? But why would anybody charge less for a product than its production cost? A company that can afford to do so temporarily seeks to drive away competitors, allowing it to raise prices later and make up for the losses. That's how predatory pricing works. It's the practice of selling a product at a price below the cost of production in order to push competitors out of the market. Once the competitors are gone, the remaining producer can raise the price again without the fear of losing sales. Without the competition keeping prices down, the company can charge enough to make large profits, certainly enough to make up for the short-term losses suffered when the price charged was below the cost of production. Some consumers will benefit from predatory pricing, but most consumers suffer in the end when the company that survives raises its prices again. Collusion. Fraud and predatory pricing are most effective in industries where only a few producers dominate the market, a monopolistic or oligopolistic market structure. This market structure makes an industry ripe for another kind of unfair business practice that can lead to fraud, collusion. Collusion occurs when agreements, often secret ones, lead to artificial price increases intended to increase profits for businesses. A common form of collusion is price fixing. Price fixing is an agreement among various producers to sell their products at the same price, higher than the law of supply and demand would generate in a free market. Price fixing is possible only when there's a high level of market concentration, allowing a relatively small number of producers to come to an agreement. With too many producers, competition for customers is strong enough that at least some of them will break any price fixing agreement and charge less, thereby capturing a larger portion of the market. One way for colluders to avoid this problem is to set up a cartel, sometimes also called a trust. Cartels are organizations that engage in routine collusion, such as price fixing and production limitation. OPEC. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, is a well-known cartel of international oil producers. Watch the slideshow to learn how OPEC members collude in an attempt to raise oil prices and increase their profits. Problems for cartels. Cartel agreements to keep production artificially low can create an incentive to cheat among individual members. For example, say a country agrees to produce only 1 billion barrels of oil per day to keep the total OPEC output at 30 billion barrels. That country could easily double its output to 2 billion barrels without having much effect on the overall OPEC production, which would rise from 30 to 31 billion barrels. Because 31 billion barrels still doesn't come close to the worldwide demand, oil prices stay close to $50 per barrel. So the country doubles its revenues with only a minor effect on overall profits for the rest of the OPEC members. This is a type of free rider problem because the country can benefit from the public benefit of higher oil prices without paying the price of limiting its production. This is why cartels are unstable. The free rider problem can lead to cheating and a breakdown of the cartel. Despite this, OPEC has been able to overcome its free rider problem and maintain cooperation among its members, limiting the output of oil and keeping the price of petroleum products high. Stopping the anti-competitors. Fraud, collusion, and predatory pricing are some of the ways that producers work against free and open competition. Businesses that engage in unfair business practices such as these include monopolies, oligopolies, and cartels, but the practice is more widespread. Fraud extends throughout the business community, from sole proprietorships to large corporations. Deliberate anti-competitive behavior in all of these forms is illegal, and it's up to the government to fight against them in order to ensure competition, the most important element of the free market system. Take a moment to test your knowledge of anti-competitive behavior before moving on. Market concentration. The reduction or elimination of competition is not always a result of fraud or other unfair business practices. Another way that competition can be undermined is through market concentration. Market concentration is a process of growth on the part of some producers, along with the elimination of other, smaller producers from the market. While unfair business practices can produce market concentration can also be a natural result of effective business practices used fairly in the competitive world of the free market. In competitive markets, some companies do not succeed and are forced to go out of business, while other companies do succeed and often grow, sometimes by buying out smaller and less successful competitors. There is a benefit to growth and size in the free market. You have learned about the advantages brought about by economies of scale. The bigger the operation, the cheaper the prices. Economies of scale benefit customers by increasing efficiency and lowering prices, but this is only true up to a certain point. Once a company grows so large that it dominates a market, it no longer has to be efficient or offer low prices to make a profit. A monopoly does not have to reduce waste or offer competitive prices to make its profit. Competition rules. Whether the cause is unfair business practices or natural market concentration, the reduction of competition is a threat to the free market system. The government works to protect competition to ensure that the free market operates fairly. However, governments have not always actively worked to protect competition. Until the late 1800s, the federal and state governments mostly left businesses alone, trusting market forces to keep things running smoothly. This changed when industries began consolidating into increasingly large and powerful corporations. By the late 19th century, industrialists, such as Andrew Carnegie of the Carnegie Steel Corporation and John D. Rockefeller of Standard Oil, dominated their industry so completely that they were able to create monopolies to fix prices, keep wages low, and prevent fair competition. The rise of monopolies spurred Congress to pass the first antitrust law, the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. This was followed by the Clayton Antitrust Act of 1914. These two groundbreaking laws set the standard for dealing with anti-competitive behaviors. These laws remain in force today, although they have been amended many times to increase their scope and effectiveness. Current antitrust laws in the U.S. provide stiff penalties for proven violations of antitrust laws. These penalties include maximum jail sentences of 10 years and maximum fines of $100 million for corporations and $1 million for individuals. This ends the recording of 5.06, The Government is Referee 1, and it was slides 1 through 16. The next one will pick up on slide 17. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns about the information. Have a great day.